alignment is the key. Great things not aligned don't produce potential results they are capable of producing. And when hard work is not aligned with awards, it also is discouraging and disappointing. So now it's award time, ladies and gentlemen, for the leaderboard winners. To do the honors, may I request my dear friend Pratik Chatterjee to please come on stage.
Thank you, Dilip. And this is the moment that we have been waiting for, especially those who have been engaging on the platform. We thank you so much. Over the last a day and a half, you've been exploring the platform, the auditorium, the exhibit hall, the networking lounge. And yes, every click that you do, every like that you click, every clap that you do earns you a leaderboard point. And the winners get amazing Amazon vouchers. So we have three first winners today, and each of them have won Amazon vouchers of 10,000 rupees each. So I will call out the three names who are the top of the leaderboard today. Abhilash Sarugu from Zensar Technologies, Anand Mrityunjam from Target, Murdhar Kulkarni from Cisco. Ladies and gentlemen, a big round of applause for them. The three win Amazon vouchers of 10,000 rupees each. And now we have the second prize. And the second prize, Amazon voucher of 6,000, is won by Ramesh CP of Cognizant. Third prize, Amazon vouchers, is by Avadut Dage from Reliance Industries Limited. And we have some consolation prizes also for those who have been active on the platform. Suresh Rathore, IDBI Bank Limited, Ashwani Chite of Zensar Technologies, Arun Ghosh, Hinduja Global Solutions, Nandini Munshi of Fujitsu, and Vaidyanathan LK of Chances Corp. A big round of congratulations for everybody. The vouchers will reach you on your designated Connect address. And keep enjoying the platform and enjoy the sessions that are lined up and the ones coming up shortly. Over to you, Dilip. Thank you.
Thank you, Pratik. Thank you very much. और जब हम नहीं जीतते हैं तो हम एक शेर तैयार रखते हैं। आप दाद देंगे हमें पता नहीं चलेगा, पर दाद दीजिएगा, गरीब की हौसला अफजाई होगी, जरा नवाजी होगी कि फैसला होने से पहले मैं भला क्यों हार मानूं, जग अभी जीता नहीं है, मैं अभी हारा नहीं हूं. There are many more to come and we'll participate again. Dear ladies and gentlemen, in this learning of transformative journey, let's understand the role of talent in building composable enterprise. To facilitate this meaningful discussion, please welcome Dr. Yogesh Kumar Bhatt, Executive Vice President and Business Head, StackRoute, in discussion with Anurag, Seth, VP and Head Talent Transformation, Wipro, Ravi Chitloor, Chief Architect, Data Protection Software, Senior Distinguished Engineer, Dell EMC, Ritesh Ranjan, Vice President Human Resources for APAC, GDCoE, CGI, Sankara Srinivasan, Vice President, Kyndryl. Over to you, Dr. Bhatt.
Thank you, Dilip. Good afternoon, everyone. And I saw all of you this morning in a very interesting discussion around platforms. Back with another very, very interesting discussion on something which we have been hearing over the last few months or maybe a year or so. In fact, Gartner called this concept as one of the top 7 trending tech trends in 2021. And that's what we call as composable enterprise. And of course, we are going to talk about the talent, what role talent plays in building a composable enterprise. But before that, of course, we need to just understand what composable enterprise is. I will give a very, very brief understanding which I have of this concept, but we have a very, very highly qualified panel here who will really throw some light for you on what this concept is. and what role does talent play in building it. We have seen billion-dollar sales, Black Friday sales, where we have seen the e-commerce companies be able to configure their pricing, their target audience, their promotions, you name it, very, very quickly, multiple times in a year. These things were unheard of just a few years back. Look at it the other way. We have companies like Zomato, which has no kitchen. We have companies like Flipkart, which holds no inventory. We have Uber and Ola, which hold no real vehicles. Yet they are leaders in their industries. How do these organizations work? How do they function? They function with obviously something very, very different from what we had seen earlier. That brings us to the concept of composable enterprise. And actually, it's very simple. We have all played with Lego blocks when we were kids, right? I mean, I hope all of us would have played with Lego blocks or something similar to that. Those are small blocks which we use to compose a building or a robo or whatever you feel like, right? The principles remain the same. The idea is very, very similar here. That how do you construct a business with composable business units? Maybe we can call them building blocks, which we can compose into a package which works as a business. Of course, in software, this idea has been used, in terms of composing software or software products by components earlier, later on with services, service-oriented architecture, the microservices, APIs, you name it, right? But how do you translate that to an enterprise is not an easy thing. It obviously requires a very deep, different thinking. And that's why we have such an eminent panel here with me today. As I start this, let me ask first question to you, Ravi. Ravi, I mean, this comes as yet another jargon probably to some of the people, right? I mean, we hear so many things. There's yet another thing. That's what calls for demystifying what composable enterprise is. And another thing is the examples I gave, they are from new age platform kind of business. So my question to you is, can you help us for our audience demystify this concept or this construct? And also, is this relevant to traditional businesses as they adopt digital or as they look at getting into the modern digital world? Is it equally relevant for them or not? And third thing, what kind of technologies are required? What plays a key role in terms of the composable enterprise? Even before we get to talent part, I would just request you to answer these questions, please.
Thank you, Dr. Yogesh. Thanks for inviting me for this panel, and good evening to all the panel members here and the folks who have joined for this panel discussion. Dr. Yogesh, I really liked your Lego example, right? You mentioned about, how do I think about Lego blocks and putting together to build a business enterprise, right? More importantly, how I viewed it was, how can you reconfigure? How can you reassemble them at velocity, right? You can reassemble them, but if it's going to take you a long period of time, it's of little value, right? Now the speed is very important in putting these pieces together. I feel the composable enterprise term is being used more these days because of the digital transformation that the companies are going through. Within Dell and with the customers that I speak to, right, we are seeing how they're embracing the digital technologies. And over the last 2 years with COVID, right, this has just accelerated really, really fast. Now, what this has allowed is that, you're able to reconfigure the companies or the offerings or a better service to the customer in a very quick time. And COVID is a great example where this has happened, right? Where businesses had to move online very quickly and they could make it happen because they could assemble these pieces together and make the change. In my view, one of the key things for a composable enterprise is the industry calls this as composable thinking, right? How do we think of taking these pieces and putting together. I'll give you an example that I've gone through over the last few years, right? With the product that I'm handling, we had a backup software and a backup storage. There were two independent products that we were selling. Then we came up with an idea of, bringing those two pieces together to give an integrated offering that brings and provides a much simpler customer experience. Now that's a composable thinking. And we got two different things that have been developed, putting together to provide a better service and a better simplicity to our customers. So that's composable thinking. Now, over the last year and a half, I've seen this to accelerate within Dell. We are able to bring various technologies together to provide a different offering, different service, different experience for our customers. And we are able to do that at a much faster pace than we were able to do it before. Now, I'm a technologist at heart. I like software architectures. So Dr. Yogesh, you mentioned a few of the technologies that enable these, right? But if I were to step back, right, the concept that you mentioned, they were all in terms of the software engineering. But now what has become more critical in a composable enterprise is kind of software assembly. How quickly can you assemble the software components together and deliver the business needs as quickly as possible, right? Kubernetes, microservices, containers, REST API first approach. Those are all the technologies that are enabling these days to bring your software and integrated offerings together as quickly as possible. But more importantly, you're able to reconfigure as quickly as possible. Few technologies like, CI/CD pipelines, DevOps allow you to change the software component, and you have the autonomy to change those components without disrupting the rest of the ecosystem, right? Those are some of the things that, the new technologies allow. You asked a very interesting question. Is this for only traditional, or is it only new age companies that can use this? My view is that, it's inevitable. All the traditional businesses need to really embrace this, because that's what gives you the agility. That's what gives you the velocity. You have to refactor your traditional businesses into more composable pieces and that are interconnected together. So it's inevitable. So even with some of the products that I have within the Dell portfolio, we are refactoring. We are looking at, how could we compose it in a different way? How can I break this down? How can I refactor them in a way that I can gain the velocity by thinking of it to be of different pieces? So that's going to be a journey. It's going to take longer for the traditional businesses to make that happen, but it is inevitable. You have to embrace it. Otherwise, you'll be left behind in the digital transformation. Now, with all of these pieces, you mentioned about, what are the challenges in an enterprise, right? Okay, you have the composable thinking, you have the composable technologies that helps you to bring it together. What are the challenges in a real enterprise to bring them together, right? How do you manage dependencies? How do you upskill the team members to think about, hey, how your component is not written once and used in one product, right? It's used in many different places. How do you think about that, right? The mindset of being able to assemble them together, being able to think about REST APIs and different consumers for it, being able to refactor your code. Those are some of the new skills that the people need to have. And also the processes that enable them to identify what are the software elements that are there in the enterprise, right? Within Dell itself, we have an initiative to look at all the software pieces that can be componentized and that can be used everywhere. And that's happening across in different enterprises as well, because you don't want to reinvent the pieces again and again. That's in my perspective of a composable enterprise and how it plays into a traditional business, Dr. Yogesh.
Yeah, thanks, Ravi. Couldn't agree more. Of course, while new age organizations, new age digital born organizations have some sort of an advantage here, the other organizations have different strengths, but they need to adopt some of those principles, and that's why this topic becomes so central to what we are doing today. With that, let me come to Ritesh, you with the next question. So as we heard Ravi, he explained what we mean by composable enterprise, gave some technology perspective to it. There are three perspectives by which I think we can look at it. Number one is, of course, the tech perspective, and Ritesh, you CGI works as a tech partner with so many organizations, which could be large, which could be smaller or medium, or could be new age, or could be old age, right? So therefore, how is that you look at developing talent, which is relevant for this? So that's one perspective to look at. But there's yet another perspective to look at, again, talent. But some organizations may need help in obviously doing their software in a way which helps them move into a composable enterprise manner. Some organizations may even need help in actually moving their organizational structures more into a composable enterprise, right? Either of the perspectives, would you like to just say from your perspective, from CGI perspective, what are the two top practices to win in the war for talent, but talent becomes central either way?
Right. I mean, so thanks, Dr. Yogesh. I wish I had the silver bullet on this, because then I would be the most sought after HR professional in India. If I could tell you exactly how we could win the war for talent. But yeah, I mean, there are, we can look at it from both perspectives. One, what you refer to as the build perspective, where you're talking about how do we build the right talent. I think, most organizations, and because I think what has happened is that because there was a lot of pent-up demand recently, I think most organizations have been very buy heavy, and therefore, and then you look at training as a nice thing to do. But I mean, we have to really look at it as a valid pipeline which will sort of feed into the demand at the right time, right? I think that is that's the key. So what we've been doing, and I'm not saying that what we've done is 100% successful, but what we've been trying to do is make digital literacy a mandate across the organization, right? So this, we've launched this Digital 101 program for every employee in CJ India, because we want everybody to be digital literate. From there on, we have then programs on specific technologies which will then help them to be ready when we require them, right? And therefore, and the other lever that we've used is rotation, which was again not very effectively used, at least for us, let's say about 18 months back. Where people had this mentality of okay, I've got this guy, the client likes him, why should I let him go? And we've sort of instituted a program where you have to rotate talent, and that way we've been able to retain them. At the same time, when you get a project which requires higher order skills, these people are already trained and therefore can move into a project that's coming in, and then you basically replace them, and maybe juniorize, and that look to reduce costs, from that perspective. The other, I would say, is the mindset thing, Dr. Yogesh, where people also have to stop looking at themselves in a linear way, saying that okay, this is who I am, these are my skills, and therefore this is the path that I can go at. So and therefore what we have done is we've looked at careers in a sort of a gridlocked fashion, where you say that okay, you can move laterally, you can move vertically, you can move, we call it sort of a lattice, you can move it, you can move vertically, you can move horizontally, but essentially you keep looking at your career in a more broad way, and use what we call to look at career progression, look at your degrees of influence, and see whether your degrees of influence are increasing, as and most times that is a measure of how you are progressing in the organization, especially for experts, right? Because on the managerial path, people say, oh, I was a first-time manager, I became a mid-level manager, I'm a senior manager. But on the expert side, typically that helps, and that's one thing that we've been trying to also focus to see whether we are able to create these tech experts that Ravi was talking about earlier, to be able to really change the way we respond to client requirements, right? So, and then on the buy side, what I would say is it's we are all trying to hire people, and we've all become these nameless, faceless, large organizations which are hiring 40,000 people, 50,000 people, and when people are joining these organizations, they don't know where they fit. So to be able to actually give, present ourselves as real people, right, in this organization who are hiring other people, that is becoming a big challenge. We're trying to do, certain things. I wish we could do it more, in a more consistent manner, where we go and engage with people before they join us, to be able to tell them that, hey, this is the kind of work that we are doing. This is where you fit. When you come in, this is the kind of culture that you can expect. And that is going in some way, I would say, in increasing our joiner throughput, right? I mean, so those are things that I would say that are required for organizations, to, especially large ones, to do to win the war for talent.
Yeah, thanks, Ritesh, for sharing your perspectives. Very valid points. I think we clearly do not. No one has the only right answer, but yeah, we are trying things, and you are trying certain very interesting things, I must say. Let me move to Anurag. So Anurag, while of course we heard Ravi, we heard Ritesh about what they are doing from a 2-3 different angles. I think for you, I will. See, we have in especially in a large IT organization such as yours, right? I mean, a huge workforce. There is a problem of, I won't say problem, there is a fact, I would say. There's a fact of that there is a legacy, there is modern, and now you have 2 more layers. Maybe you have digital and you have, this composable getting in, right? So now you have to move your workforce from legacy to modern to digital. And at the same time, you have to also continue servicing some of the older things which do continue, right? I mean, not that, for example, mainframes continue today, right? Now, in that context, what are your reskilling and upskilling priorities, the top ones from Wipro perspective, in this context, where you are taking care of meeting your customer demands as well as the aspirations of employees?
Yeah, so I mean, it's a very interesting problem to have. See, the overall, if you see today, the way number of technologies and skills are changing, it's dramatic. Good old days, you learn something, you use it for several years. Now, every 6 months, the different versions of a particular skill itself are so different that it's like new skill itself at the end of the day. Now, you rightly said that while the skills are going up and, you need to keep training people onto different new skills that are coming up, but on the other side, the legacy has not gone away. Almost every year we hear that mainframe will exist for next 2 years or 3 years, and even after 10 years, 15 years, it is still the same thing. And I don't think it will ever go off so you do need the skills. Now, the reason it has become a very niche skill, because there are no people available, because nobody wants to work on those legacy skills, and they all want to work on this different kind of a thing. So, we obviously, kind of grapple with this particular thing. How do you keep the motivation level of the people working on that while you build the enterprise? So first thing that, as a mantra that we've done is to say that the 80% of our trainings should happen on the top 20% of the skills which are in demand. Because these top 20% skills actually constitute the 80% of the demands, actually, right? So, but the point is that, the number of people who get trained, or the number of trainings that you do, you make sure that 80% of your organization is already aligned to the top digital skills that are happening. So this is a very focused effort that you do on this particular activity. The other thing is that within the customer accounts that are there, right? Because many of these customer accounts would be migrating from legacy to the other future skills. So you work with the customer accounts to say that how do I continuously reskill your people so that they are ready to meet the future demands of that particular customer. So from a purely from a skilling perspective, we do that. Now, if you look at people with the mainframe skills or legacy skills, they obviously put pressure on you, and if you don't do anything about it, they obviously have options outside the organization, right? Say they will always get certification outside and they'll move out. So one thing that we have tried to do is that within the accounts that we have said that irrespective of the fact that the person is working, on the mainframe skills, you actually, we still train those people. We tell them that at least pick up one new digital skill in a year. And when I say one new digital skill, it obviously is theory, hands-on, everything, so that you are ready. Now, while this is going on, the person obviously expects that now I've finished my digital training, so move me out, right? So we actually have introduced a very interesting paradigm, something called crowdsourcing in the organization, which has been running very successfully for almost 3.5 years now, where what we say is that a lot of customer projects, portions of the customer projects are actually put on the platform. It could be, let's say, front-end designing, like using some skill like Angular, React, or it could be back-end, it could be database, it could be testing, it could be pure design creation. A lot of such kind of assignments are put on the crowdsourcing, which any employee, whether it's a legacy employee or a digital employee or fresher or anybody, any employee can go it and do those customer engagements. Now, there are live engagements. Now, obviously, since you are doing these engagements beyond your regular work that you do, you get paid for it. And a particular challenge that is put there, it could range anything between $100 to, some challenges are even $4,000. So now obviously depending on the complexity of the program, how fast do you want that work to be done, the project managers put up that challenge. And anybody in the gig economy, I'm calling it a gig economy because even though employees are working for us, but we want them to behave like gig. So today during daytime, I was working on mainframe, and in the evening when I go home or on the weekend, I actually have just picked up some new digital skill. Let me go and participate. And my motivation is that I'm participating is I'm actually getting extra money paid, and people earn $3,000-4,000 a month, typically many of them, to get that thing. So while on the money side, it's a motivation, but now from the organization perspective, now we are able to tap onto the global talent. Person can be anywhere in the world, and we put this challenge, and because whether it is the attraction of the monetary awards that you put, or it is the attraction of the digital technology experience that you want to get, you are able to tap onto that particular. The second big initiative that we do is that, given that there is a scarcity of talent in the market, the attrition levels have gone up some 25% in most organizations, and there's a churn, very high churn that keeps taking place. The second thing we are doing is the only way you can generate this large pool is if you hire people from the campuses, right? So we are looking at hiring 30,000 people from the campus next year. Now, these 30,000 freshers come, your customers would always say, no, I don't want freshers, I want experienced people and all that kind of stuff. So what we are looking at is that we want to make sure that these freshers actually get trained even before they join the organization. So if they are going to join you from June, July, August, September, we are actually starting the training as early as next week, where we are launching the program and people are getting trained. We will handhold them, we will support them so that when they join the organization, they are day one ready to be built for a customer engagement. Now, that's the kind of thing. Now, what will you do with these people? So within the existing accounts, whether it's a legacy account like mainframe or it is any other account, you have trained people on the top end skills, right? Digital skills. And you actually now build a Newton's cradle. That's the word we use, where you take freshers from the bottom of the pyramid. They actually replace the guys who are working on some of those legacy skills or some of the foundation skills. And those people who have now got groomed and certified on new digital skills move on. Now that way, a composable enterprise works because now you have various options, right? You have a lot of freshers, you have people who have been cross-trained on various things. You have crowdsourcing where a person may not be in your project, may not be in the same city, it may be in a different country, different place, and you are able to tap onto that talent to, do this kind of activity. So you kind of build that model. And the last point, on this, I would say is that while you are doing all these activities, it's good. How do you make sure that your project managers, delivery managers, or program managers who are there, how are they groomed so that they can handle this kind of a thing? So there's a concept of full stack. You no longer have a concept of project manager. That project manager has already turned into an engineering manager because the person has to be close to technology. He needs to know how to work with different paradigms like crowdsourcing, automation, and all that kind of stuff. He or she dirties his or her hands and also does project management. And with that kind of an era, you are saying people are full stack, people are multi-skilled, by which, whenever you have these gaps, you are able to fill those gaps, right? So I mean, in a very short nutshell, these are the kind of different building blocks, if you can say, is what we are working on. So what do you, Yogesh?
Thanks, Anurag. I mean, for a very detailed response, and truly, I mean, it's quite amazing to see you are leveraging some of the constructs which have been used in sort of a larger world. Treating Wipro as a mini world where you bring in this crowdsourcing, you bring in posting projects inside. I think that's very interesting idea, and also this whole idea of getting your skill ready before they come in, who will replace the bottom end. So I think very well thought through. And thanks for sharing this. I'm sure our audience will be benefited by all the thoughts which are coming in. Before I move to the next question to Sankara, I just wanted to just announce to all the audience here, we would want to spend time in answering your questions. So please do keep your questions coming. We will not necessarily wait till the end of the program to take questions. When the questions comes, we will have a slot soon where we will take audience questions to this panel. So please do send any questions which you have using the Q&A button, which is available for you on the bottom right-hand side of your screens in the auditorium. Okay, with that, let me come back here to you, Sankara. So Sankara, you are in a very unique position that we see that very nice Kyndryl logo behind you, which is a very newborn organization, but it's an organization which is very differently born. It's born out of a organization which is like more than 100 years old. So you have a benefit of legacy on the other side, or maybe a baggage of legacy. I don't know how do you treat that. And you have all the advantages of a newborn organization. My question to you is this. We heard from Ritesh and from Anurag on how do you look at getting fresh talent, how do you look at getting people reskilled, how do you bring in some of the composable enterprise aspects right inside your organization. But one thing is composable enterprise largely depends on the people who are forward thinkers. We heard about mindset, right, and innovators, right? So while of course you need large number of talent to drive that, but you need certain forward thinkers, innovators, without which it doesn't work. And you are newborn, right? So how are you looking at that? What is your approach for creating a purpose-driven, mindful workforce which can really drive this agenda?
Hey, thank you, Yogesh. Appreciate it, and glad to be part of this panel, and congratulations on this conclave. Right? So given that we are coming with the legacy, and it's not baggage, it's the process and experience that we bring with us. The major advantage that we have is, unlike many others, we are pure play infrastructure services, right? So we're able to there is a focused drive on what we need to do. How we go drive it, we partner with our clients, and how we. So for me to go look into talent, I look at it this way, right? As a managed services provider, my biggest asset is the client knowledge, right? And the client's knowledge is something that we had our objective till last 2 years. But the last 2 years has taught us something very different, right? We are not just looking at the client's knowledge, we are also looking into the client expectations, right? So that's where the entire business demography now runs through, right? How do we go drive things differently? And I don't have to go talk about COVID. It's completely digitally transformed everything around the globe, right? So we go back, and we in Kyndryl, we call this the 6 feet economy, right? So thereby, how much of business this has got into this? Say for example, if you look into queuing outside the retail store, right? The distances that needs to be maintained, supply chain that needs to be happening, floor space that needs to be monitored during the workshops and the floors, right? Then airline seats. How do we go manage financial institutions, right? So given the fact that we have over 1,000 clients across the globe, the best advantage for us is the one size fits all does not happen here. Right? So every client requirement, every country's requirement is completely different. So that has given us the opportunity to go look into saying, how do we bring our talent workforce in a different thinking process? And then the other eminent speakers covered the challenges very clearly, and we have the same way, right? So we got to start thinking, yes, forward thinking, but some of the clients have financial problems. We can't just move away into advanced technology right away. They all have their time to go move in. So we need the people to continue supporting what they're supporting. At the same time, we need to start looking into how do we take them forward. So at Kyndryl, we start looking into the skill transformation journey, right? So we look into people that have an account specific knowledge. And this is very, very key, critical, because the client has more confidence in you. Unlike the application world, in infrastructure world, the number of early professional hires or college graduates that you bring in will not be very significantly high. It's like a surgeon's job. You're going to be touching upon production servers. Things are going to be down. So you don't want, not only us, the client does not want somebody with inexperience to come touch it. It's predominantly subject matter expertise that comes and to handle this stuff. Right? So that said, what we do is try to build the site reliability engineering. We call it the SRE model, right? Which is very, very important. Because given the fact that you can't keep bringing skills given the fact that back in the old days, you need, Oracle, SAP, 5-6 skills, you're set for your life, right? If you know one of these key skills as an SME, 10-15 years you run, but not today, right? Today, as I said, every client adaptation of technology is being very different, which means the skill learning has to be very, very different. So the SRE model helps us go train people in multi-skill and start looking into how do we go adapt to clients' requirement very fast, right? The agile thinking that comes in as well, right? So the advantages for us is the last few years, India has become the second headquarters, not just for a services industry, but across the globe, many more work is moving here, right? So the talent being the currency, we are able to go tell the resources that, hey, there is an opportunity for learning. There are two things that we got to understand. One is learning new skills. Second thing is unlearning stuff that is in there, right? Some of them come with a baggage in their head saying, I'm a hardcore one technology person that I'm going to be doing. That won't help in the long term. So we are starting to look into how do we start differentiating ourselves with our team. So it's going on really well, because this skill journey that we are looking into is looking into every client's requirements based on the geography of where they are, and looking into how technology adaptation is going to be helping them, and aligning the team that has the client knowledge into that, right? Because one is, as I said, the experience, subject matter expertise is needed. Second advantage of it is getting to know the client's environment much better. Thereby, you're able to transform it in a faster pace. Gone are the days where a transition and transformation takes 6 months' time. The timelines that are given are very, very in a very narrowed down space. You got to start doing things, and that's what the expectation is as we move into the next generation of technology. The expectation on skills is we go even faster. Adaptation is only the primary thing, and I think we are working with our people, and we want to make sure that they see the value in what we bring to them, right? Many times there is reward and recognition, and then we also start looking into how it helps them in their career. And so when the bigger picture and the objective is shown, it always helps. And as I started saying, we started off with our clients, and then we started moving towards our client and what their expectations are. And that helped us build our AI, our intelligence on the market, the industry in a much better fashion. Given that we are primarily focused on infrastructure services, we also spend a lot of time on automation, which when you hire people that comes into starting to do technology and they want to do coding, they have the opportunity to start being part of the coding team that does a lot of automation. So the market is driving dynamic, I think, with the teams that we are bringing and trying to scale them up to the next. And these skills that we build will not be 12 to 18 months. This would be 6 to 8 weeks, start deploy, start go deliver, right? And because they come with an expertise of both subject matter plus the client, and then go deliver. And as clients change the technology, we are able to adapt it faster as well. Trust I've answered your question, Yogesh. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Sankara. Thanks for a very detailed perspective. We have many questions coming in, and we have about 5 minutes or so, I think, to take them. So I will ask these now. I think there are 2 questions here which are about retention. One is from Sandeep Kumar, which is about retaining the real talent based on client requirement. There's another one which came specifically for you from Jaya Anurag, which is about retaining the campus hires. So maybe I'll take it to you, Anurag. Would you want to answer this? How are you?
Yeah, so I mean, from a campus freshers perspective, if you see, first 2 years actually we don't face so much of attrition, but immediately after 2 years you find a significant attrition that takes place. So this year, we have actually come up with a very creative thing where we are saying every year for over a period of next 5 years, a person who has joined fresh from campus actually gets an annual bonus. So their salary regular hikes that take place is there, but the way the package is built up is so that you have a motivation that you get a good chunk of bonus when you stay on for a period of time for us. And that we are hoping is going to help, because when you hire a 2-year, 3-year or 4-year guy from market, it comes at a very high price. The second thing that we have done is the engagement level of these people. So a lot of these campus freshers, as I was mentioning, we are actually engaging them even 6 months before they join us. And after they join us, we also take their preferences on the skill sets they want to work on, preferences on the location they want to work on. And we try our level best how to map that particular thing so that when they come in, if they're working on the skill sets and they're working on the projects, their excitement levels are higher. Right. And then we have built a career map, at least for the first 4 years for these guys, that this is what, if you take, this is your role elevation is going to take place. So along with compensation bonuses that we have put in with the engagement programs that we have, I think is what we are trying to address this point.
Okay, thanks. I think we can only take one more question. So I will talk about this. There is a question on yeah, so I think I'll take this question. There is a question on, is it easier for new organizations to get the digital infrastructure of a composable enterprise? Maybe Ravi, if you can take this question.
Oh, yeah, definitely. The newer organization or the new age companies is much easier to do it. For the traditional organizations, right? What I have seen work in a more pragmatic way is think about bringing the blocks together as a reference architecture, or you bring them together as an integrated solution. And then you think about refactoring, right? That's kind of a pragmatic approach where you are giving the recipe to the customer first. How do you bring them together? Then you're thinking about, hey, I'm going to solve it for you and I'm going to give you this. And then the next one is that gives you the time to refactor the traditional businesses, what you have, in a more modern way. That's a pragmatic approach of doing it, but you could take more radical approaches saying, I'm going to leave this traditional, I'm going to embark on a rewrite of a new one, right? So the different ways to approach it, it depends on the business needs and the investment envelope that you have within the company.
Thanks, Ravi. Thanks for your response. While we do have many more questions, unfortunately, we are running out of time, and we have a next very interesting discussion coming up now. Thanks. Let me thank you all for being here. I think you shared very deep insights from your respective organizations and from the wanted position which you take. That I'm sure our audience will find a great value. I personally found that of great value. Again, let me thank all of you, and over to you, Dilip.
Thank you, Dr. Bhatt, for facilitating the insightful discussion that further brings to light the role of talent in building composable enterprise.